Hey, welcome everybody. What a great set of films. Thank you for watching the wonderful movies we just saw and for attending the SF Indie Fest Short Film Program 2021. We're lucky to have all these filmmakers with us joining us for this Q&A. Hey guys, thank you. Very kind of you to take this time to share your work and then to share some of your experiences making these movies here on this Q&A. Maybe first off, as an icebreaker, just if you can go around the room, I'll call on you and tell us your name, maybe where you're calling in from. I think this program is called Adventures in Bay Area Filmmaking 2, but sometimes we get people from all different parts of the world. And also tell us your role. Sometimes we get the writers, sometimes we get actors, not only directors, but maybe producers. So tell us your role and what your film is, and maybe a quick, brief synopsis of what the movie is. Alexei, if I can start with you, since you're on the top of my grid.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. My name is Alexei. Originally, I'm from Russia, but now I'm a Bay Area filmmaker, and I'm the producer and assistant director for a short film called Nana Eyes Lullaby. And that's a film about a Filipino-American man who reunites with his estranged family when his mother becomes ill.
Excellent. Thank you. Jennifer, can I go to you next?
Yes, I'm Jennifer Wong. I am coming from Oakland, California. My film is This Adventure Called California, and it's about a Mexican man who was labor trafficked and his process of recovery and how a chance encounter to the racquetball court changed his life.
Excellent. Thanks. Nina and James, please.
Yeah, I'm Nina Jordan. I'm the co-writer and actor in Quality Time.
And I'm James Breedlove, and I directed it. And I was a little bit part in it too.
Yeah, he made a cameo. So the short is about a heartbroken woman who goes to visit her soon-to-be ex in prison to say goodbye.
Excellent. And who's the little guy with you there?
Yeah.
He's the real star.
This is our AD.
Zaru, yeah. Our AD, our executive producer.
Yeah.
He calls the shots.
Yeah, he does. He does. He wanted to be here for this.
Augusto, if you would, please.
Yeah, my name is Augusto. I'm in Emeryville, California. I'm here representing the film Jazzercise. I was a director of photography and a producer on the film. And just a little bit of, it's just a comedy about a girl who has this crazy fantasy about an aerobics instructor.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Augusto. I appreciate all of you being here. I enjoyed all your films. It's quite an eclectic group of films. It's because they're all mixed together in this block, this program, because they have some connection to the Bay Area first and foremost. And it's good to see filmmaking thriving and busy in the Bay Area. I am also in San Francisco. So thank you for submitting your films and participating. And because it's such a wide range, we've got a documentary, we got kind of some animation, we got some comedy, we've got music video, I think, in there in the block. Maybe if you can go around the room to tell me your involvement in the film, what you're hoping the audience got out of it. What were you hoping the emotion maybe the audience got from it was? And it might be obvious, but maybe it's not so obvious, or maybe there's something else we didn't know about. And Jennifer, I'll start with you. What were you hoping kind of an emotion the audience received from your film?
I forgot to mention that I'm the documentary, and I was the everything. I filmed it and edited it and produced it. I guess what I'm hoping is that people are a little surprised to realize that labor trafficking is happening right here, and that people are being exploited in California, in the Bay Area, and one of the richest places in the world. So I'm hoping that people feel surprised and also motivated to do something in their own lives to fight against that, to not be participating in an exploitative economy.
Excellent, thank you. Alexei, can I go to you next?
Sure. So to some extent, like we've all just lived through the we've all just lived through the pandemic, and I believe if you're watching the Q&A, you've seen the film. So our goal for creating this film was to remind people. Well, we all know about COVID, of course, but and often HIV seems to be, thing of the past, but it's not really. And since the HIV pandemic started, it's still there, it's still with us, and it still hurts a lot of the people. And it's clear that the stigma associated with HIV still persists, and it's very strong, and it ruins people's lives and breaks their connections even within their family. And that's something that we wanted to talk about and to address, especially that it does happen in some of the communities which this film is talking about. So that film was a little bit like, at least the theme of this film is partially a reminder about that. But we also want to explore just the human interactions and what can happen with the families which are torn apart, and what happens with the families when some of the family members got sick, and how do you reconcile, or do you break the connection even further? What would happen if you learn something unpleasant about your children, about your parents, and so on?
Excellent. Thank you. Augusto, how about you?
So our film is basically a very lighthearted comedy. It's just about, a young girl who's just in the about to start working out, and somehow zaps into a little fantasy about, the aerobics instructor, as I had mentioned. And yeah, it's just kind of a fun, lighthearted comedy, and also a little bit also just taking place in a small space. If you're from the Bay Area, then you know that we all have these very small living spaces. So she causes havoc because of her small living space and trying to really get her exercise in. So it's just.
And Nina and James, also kind of similar to Augusto's film. Now,
Yeah. I mean, personally, I just hope people laugh.
exactly, and
Yeah.
and that I did.
Oh, good. Thanks.
But and that's the beauty of a short film program, right? Of a short film block. You can have a multitude of different films, a variety of different films, and it's a mix of films, and you don't necessarily have to like them all, or you necessarily wouldn't have to go and want to go see them all, but you get to experience them all because you went to the film program, the shorts program. So that's what I love about shorts, and this multitude of different emotions that we get from all your different films. So let me start with the comedy people, since we just finished on that. And what was your inspiration to make the movie? Was there a spark, or was it just to make people laugh? Or we got to make a movie? And I'm going to ask this question to all of you. What was the inspiration for the idea for the movie? Nina and James, go ahead.
Oh, sure. So I co-wrote it with the other actor, Tim Hulse, who's in the film, and we got together. We were friends who'd worked together, and we actually worked several times on set in commercials here in the Bay, which are mainly, that's how actors make money up here. And we were just kind of tired of like a lot of this, like these corny things that you have to say in these auditions. You try to make them believable, and we were. It kind of stemmed from that. Like we were just like, let's make a.
Well, hey, I'm a filmmaker too. What are the corny things I got to make sure I don't have my actors audition?
Oh gosh, like I don't know, like run-on sentences, like techno, like chunky speak that nobody would ever say. Like it's like no human speaks like this. But the onus is on you to do all this stuff. So we kind of were like, just maybe flushing some of that out of our system. We started improvising, and what we thought would be a dramatic short turned into comedy. And I was like, and Tim, actually, we both had this kind of shared community experience. Tim had worked for Postmates like years prior, a little bit. I had driven for Lyft a little bit years prior. And I was like, let's make an anti-commercial. Just like, let's get this out of our system. And
nice.
And we just picked Postmates. It just fit with the scenario we were working on. And he was still able to like get the bag because he was still like in their system. And you know, I think at the time too, and it's come and gone, but you know, San Francisco and the Bay Area there's a lot of local press on how Postmates affects a lot of these businesses. So you know, it's a little tongue in cheek, like stick it to them.
Right.
But as we like to say, if Postmates is watching this, we are available for corporate sponsorship. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have easily put yours and Augusto's films in a comedy program, but we enjoyed the variety of a local eclectic mix. And Postmates and all the delivery people and all the other app services are definitely prevalent nowadays in the Bay Area, for better or for worse. Augusto, another comedy film you were involved in. What was the director's inspiration, and how did you get involved?
So me and my fiance were actually visiting New York, and we were in the subway, and there was an ad for the Mirror exercise tool. You know, the one that you kind of stick and it kind of reflects and blah blah blah. It has an app on it. So because being in New York, obviously the small living spaces, I kind of had this story idea of just someone working out and really just destroying their apartment because, again, it's a small living space. And then I presented it to my friend Marion, and Marion actually is the director. And so she went ahead and kind of fleshed out the story and came up with this twist and based it in the 80s, and you know, brought in the idea of like the old aerobics instructors from back in the day, those workout silly programs that did just really crazy little workouts. So anyways, so she kind of fleshed out the story, came up with this whole comedy routine, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just really funny. Her twist on it was just really good. So she kind of took it from there, and I just kind of played the role of DP and producer. So yeah, that's kind of how we came up with the idea.
I do like that your two comedies, you know, you took it to the next level with layering, like by the location in an apartment, and then Nina James in a jail cell or conference, whatever, jail meeting area, right?
Yeah.
The police station on Mission Street.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew it. I recognized it.
Yeah.
Community room, man. They let you use it for free. They're wonderful.
I'm only a couple blocks away. I'm gonna go knock on their door.
Yeah.
Totally shoot there.
Yeah.
Right
It's
on.
great. They have the tapes.
And Alexi, since you know the police station, but this has nothing to do with your film, what was the inspiration for the movie you were involved in?
Right. So that story was written by Drew Stevens, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us here. It actually it first premiered as a stage play, actually, a few years back in one of the Filipino performing arts stage in San Francisco. So the story was written a few years back, and I believe, the origins of the story is actually the lullaby itself in Visayan, in the central Philippines. Well, lullaby, which starts with the words, "Sleep, baby, your mother is not here," which is kind of mysterious, and the tune is captivating. And that got him thinking about, you know, he conjured an image of the woman who disappeared into herself for the sake of the family. And then he kind of merged this together with the HIV stigma he knows is often persistent with the communities, and that's how the story came together, more or less. And again, that was a stage play, a story. It premiered well, and then he tried to kind of make it into a movie eventually. It was hard to get the project off the ground. And around that time, I was working with Drew on another film, and actually was directing one of his other scripts. So I read that script, and I told Drew, well, let's make it into a movie, and I'd be happy to produce it. I would be an assistant director to to make sure I'm involved in the process, but I let you direct it as well. So that's how the movie came together.
Thank you. And Jennifer, where'd the inspiration, where'd the spark for this project come from?
Actually, so I have spent a lot of time in the Philippines in the last 5-6 years because I've been doing a feature-length documentary about sex trafficking survivors, teen sex trafficking survivors there in Cebu, actually, where they also speak Bisaya. So through that research, I learned more about labor trafficking, and I realized that it's getting a lot less attention. And specifically at a conference, I met a young man named Jimmy Lopez, who had been labor trafficked as a child, and was working in a warehouse in Los Angeles. When he was 12 years old for 2 years, he didn't see the sun and he was building furniture. And I just thought, okay, I could have furniture in my home built by a child slave. And the label Made in America means nothing. Like, he was in Los Angeles. There were other people who saw him that, there, that didn't say anything. And so that really motivated me to expand, my storytelling, even though I don't know what the hell I'm doing, to also include labor trafficking. And then I was doing a fellowship through Represent Media called Retake Oakland. And we were doing personal stories of people in Oakland. And so that's how I found Arnaldo and decided to tell his story.
And it's an important story at that. Well, you seem to know what you're doing, because it was very moving, very engaging. There's always the worry that a documentary can get too, what's the expression, just too into itself, or too heavy, if you will, too messagey. And the audience is taken out of it. And I was never taken out of your movie. Actually, I became quite invested in Arnaldo. And how do you think you did that? I mean, it was so inviting. He really brought us into his world and had to sympathize with him and root for him.
You know what? I have no idea. Basically, I think
maybe it's his personality. I mean, he opened up to you, so we really felt like we were on his story, his journey.
Yes, I think it's his vulnerability, actually, that, and I don't know why he trusted me at all, but he cries all the time, as you see in the documentary, but he also gets super excited. He's just very transparent with his emotions. Yeah. And so I think that's a lot of it. I also went through 50 or 60 versions and had lots of feedback, and so cut a lot of the fat.
Did he invite you in immediately as a filmmaker, or did that grow?
Both, I think. I think he has a certain level of outrage at what happened to him, and he thought, yeah, people need to know the story, which is unlike a lot of trafficking survivors, where there's a lot of shame and stigma, and it's also very damaging to people's self-esteem. And so the fact that he, was able to see beyond that and see that he wanted to make a bigger impact, I think is really something special about him.
So filmmakers, what was a challenging moment of making your movie? Alexei, what was a difficulty in getting it accomplished? Was there any?
Well, location.
Movie making is challenging, period, right?
No, I mean, location was hard, and we actually wanted to. One of the scenes takes place in the hospital, and we wanted it to look more or less like the real thing, right? We wanted to show, and we tried to find the good location in the Bay Area, but it proved to be hard, both in terms of just, you can't just walk into the hospital and tell them, well, why don't we shoot here? You can't. And we worked with different options. We tried to look at the places which are decommissioned. We tried to, figure out what it would take to convert the space which looks like the hospital into the real hospital. But again, from the budget perspective, you just spend a lot of time and a lot of money to convert the space. So ultimately, we figured out that the most economical solution actually was to go to the soundstage in Los Angeles, where they have a ready-made stand-in sets that look specifically like the hospital, which they use to film crime show pilots, things like that. Yeah. So we actually transported the crew to Los Angeles, went to the stage, which is pre-lit, everything's amazing, most of the props are there. We shot there for 2 days, and then we traveled back to continue the production in Bay Area. But that was quite an undertaking. I mean, that was also fun because there was time to bond with the crew, and COVID didn't start yet when we were filming it. So we didn't have to be as cautious and as we would have.
The movie looks great, and I wouldn't even have thought the hospital. I thought you got a real location. It looks it's real looking. Well done. That's a little achievement. How about Anina and James? Was your movie difficult to make?
And actually, yeah, I was actually just thinking because Alexei just said he recognized our location. I saw his and I thought, okay, this is either one hospital which I've been to in Los Angeles, or it's a soundstage in Los Angeles that I know they shoot hospital and stuff like that at. And I swear to God, I thought that. I was like, definitely in Los Angeles. There's
That's
nothing
funny.
like that in San Francisco. So
right.
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
So there were small hiccups along the way, but it's a 5-minute short. It's there wasn't anything really big, except I think in the creative process, Tim and I kind of hit a spot where it wasn't like the joke wasn't hitting, and we were unsure because co-writing was a new experience for the both of us. And James, we rehearsed it with him, and he gave us some really great feedback on where to put the joke, kind of how to massage the arc. And then once we understood, we're like, oh yeah, oh, that makes perfect sense. Yes.
You guys are sketch art, improv, right?
Yeah. James started Sketchnology, and I'm part of it. Tim is part of it, but he's kind of like a satellite offshoot. He's based in LA. We're in San Francisco.
What is Sketchology, real quick, briefly?
Sketchnology, you want to say?
Yeah, it's just a sketch comedy group that I started with Nina and Adam Ezaguri and a few other people, and we make probably a clip of like once per month. We'll shoot a sketch and just put it out on our YouTube and put it out on Facebook or whatever,
or the TikToks.
And so, did you guys I'm getting off track a little bit here. How did what was the catalyst? How did your movie start? Like, was it just the actors, or was it a seed of an idea from you?
Yeah, we all worked on one production together, and I was like, I really want to start a sketch group. I've always loved improv and sketch comedy, and Adam was on set, and I was like, and he wanted to do it.
Yeah, we met Adam being in a movie all together, a short film.
Scary Cow film, actually.
Yeah.
And then just different people, different actors, and different people with ideas have come along, and some go and some stick around, and sometimes it's someone who works in video production, and sometimes it's a writer, or hopefully in the future. Now we're thinking hey, let's get some stand-up comedians to kind of work on some sketches. So we're here in San Francisco, and we shoot all the time. So definitely.
And Adam also had a cameo. He was the cop chasing.
He was the cop
chasing his cop out the door.
Yeah.
Augusto, it looks like we have you back. What was the most challenging moment for you?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Probably the most challenging, it came together pretty easily as far as, the typical filmmaking stuff, scheduling and all that good stuff. But, shooting in a small space, we have, my workspace is kind of small, but we decided to shoot here. And it just proved to be a little challenging because, fitting all the lights and the whole crew and everything. So that really was the biggest challenge. Other than that, we really didn't face much, just because, it's a lighthearted comedy. Location wise, we were able to find something on Pier Space. So it all worked out pretty easily.
Pier Space. Yeah, I've been using that for locations kind of. Hey, so as Bay Area filmmakers, real quick, you just inspired me for this question. What's it like making movies in the Bay Area? Augusto, I'll just keep going with you. Go ahead.
As far as making
challenges, excitement, pros, cons, anything like that.
I think one of the things that I've come across is maybe just cost. It's always pricey to find spots or shoot in locations, and all the different rules that apply when you're trying to shoot somewhere and having to get all those permits. That, and also maybe sometimes lack of maybe I'm not well connected, but maybe the lack of just resources, actors and all that stuff, finding the right people to be able to collaborate with. I have friends in LA, and obviously over there's it's pretty bountiful, but over here maybe it's just a little bit, again, maybe I'm just not don't have the right connections, but those are typically the issues that I've come across.
Yeah. Nina and James, what's it like filming in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I think if you're willing to be a guerrilla, if you're really willing to be a guerrilla shooter, then it's actually a great city to shoot in. Because in Los Angeles, I remember going down to a gas station trying to shoot something, and they pulled out a rate card. And they said, this is how much it costs per day to shoot at this gas station. And I was like, what? You know, and everybody has a price in Los Angeles, whereas there's many people who are willing to work for free or just for the passion of it.
It's almost like LA. Everybody knows they're on set all the time, so they got the antenna out.
Yeah. And just as like a local actor, I've been in plenty of small shorts, you know, that it's like, oh, it's the corner store that the filmmaker happens to live a block away from, and they let them shoot there, you know. Mm-hmm. So that, I feel like that happens a lot, and we find.
I mean, how often do you go into your local police station, knock on the door, and say, "Can we film here?" And they say yes.
Oh yeah, it's just a phone call away. You just reserve it.
Yeah.
I just say, well, we'll be doing some filming.
They're not going to be happy with you two after this Q&A. You're going to get some people calling.
They're going to get a lot more. Yeah, they're going to need a rate card pretty soon.
But any other thoughts, since there's two on Bay Area filmmaking? Is it easier, harder, fun, sad?
I think in a way it's better because it's there's so much variety in the landscape in a short distance. Whereas Los Angeles, you got to drive very far away to get something that looks different.
Do you guys don't you find like it's just you're inspired all the time, or even though there's its challenges and complications and frustrations, I'm still always like jazzed and get the juices flowing here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we could shoot any sketch you want in Golden Gate Park, and people don't bother you. I mean, we shot something in Golden Gate Park and barely had anyone come up to us, and people were like,
we had no one come
being
up to
quiet. They were seeing that we were filming, and they were like, oh, let's respect their
kids come along. Like,
yeah, like we had like maybe 10 minutes of sound issues, and then that was it. So I think it's a great place to film.
And it's beautiful. San Francisco is great.
I agree. Jennifer, what do you think about filming in the Bay Area?
Well, so the experience I had was quite different because it was also during the pandemic. But this came up actually after the filming was wrapped, but it seems particular to Oakland, maybe. Arnaldo, as you can see in the film, he lives in his truck, and his truck was stolen. So they took his transportation and his home and $4,000 worth of his tools. And, you know, and he's a handyman, and he's a painter. And so like, that's his livelihood. And that happened like a month ago. And so that is, it's more about the relationship I have with him and what we call protagonist stewardship in the documentary world. But I actually started a GoFundMe, so I want to plug the GoFundMe campaign. You can get it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so, but I know that in Oakland, I live in Oakland and I love Oakland, but like crews are always getting robbed here. So that's like,
as well.
You know, yeah, and so those are some particular challenges.
That's right, and that's a newer phenomenon that's been happening, at least in the Bay Area, right? That is crazy. I know now when we're crewing or we're doing I can't go out by myself really anymore. You know, if I was doing an indie one-person guerrilla style, or even with 2 or 3 people, you now have to have a person that's eyes. When I was filming in Reno recently, you know, the client hired a security guard with a bulletproof vest, even though it was like a 3-person documentary crew, and it's just like a new reality. Yeah, crazy. Alexi, how's filming in the Bay Area?
So I consider myself an amateur filmmaker, right? I was a part of the Scary Cow group as well, so
the Scary Cow group.
Yes.
Yeah.
So most of the people, well, the connections that I have and people that I work with, either as a crew member or as a producer, are people with the same background, which means that they're either amateurs, like amateur filmmakers who are doing this for the love of art, or they're professionals who are busy with a corporate job, with the corporate filmmaking, who use like narrative films and documentary films as a creative outlet, which means that it's great to work with people because they really love the art of making shorts and they want to contribute their time and energy. but it's hard to get everyone on board and to schedule things and to get a commitment, because if you have, like, people have, bills to pay, and sure, like, you can't pay as much as the orders, right? And they have the clients, so it's always tricky to do the scheduling, and sometimes even once you have everyone on board, it can be months before you're actually able to schedule, before you actually film it. And then there is like a long post-production, because again, if you're not doing this as your primary occupation, it's hard to find time to finish that stuff and to polish it.
Yes.
So I enjoyed, but again, our timeline was, we started planning in summer 2019, we filmed in January 2020, we had a pickup in July 2020, and we finished editing by the early 2021.
Wow.
So I mean, this is a 13-minute short. So that's the reality.
Yeah. In the Bay Area, I mean, not to date myself, I started in the Bay Area when, you could ask people like PAs to work for free because it was affordable here. Now that's just not possible. They do have to have a job, or a real job, if they're going to get started in the filmmaking business. All right, we have very little time left here. Real quick, let's go around the room. Your favorite filmmaking scene from your movie or moment? Is there like the opening, a breakthrough, or both, or experience? Who would like to? Alexei, I'll continue with you.
Okay, so we really wanted to get the dolly shot at the climax of our film, as the transition from the entryway to the kitchen. We felt that there should be like a continuous dolly shot. We picked the location to do that, and we really wanted to. We worked a lot to make it work, and like, it was challenging because we picked a wonderful house, but unfortunately, and it had hardwood floors, but they were creaking, and so every time you tried to pull the doors, it was and the floor was still wobbly. So it took us like a fair amount of hours to set this up correctly and film it, but it looked beautiful in the end. So
and how long were you hoping it actually took?
How long what?
How long did you hope that you would be able to execute it, and how long did it take?
Yeah, we planned like 2 hours for this scene, to set up and film this shot, and it took like maybe four hours. So
Nina and James.
Oh, funny enough, personally, my favorite part of this very short film is the stuff that happened when we actually finished the written part. So a little secret is that once my character leaves, that was all improv, and this guy is great at improv. Tim is great at improv. It just seamlessly came together. So that's actually, once my writing finished, that's actually my favorite part.
You mean him escaping?
Yeah, well, him, like we touched on notes of him checking out like the bag of the Postmates, but like it wasn't like all nailed down with like writing, and that's actually my favorite stuff. My favorite part is when he gets chased out, and yeah.
My favorite part is when he just when it's like when the sketch it's when it starts to turn from a drama to a comedy. Like you just get the first inkling of like what?
Yeah, I got that. What I was like, huh? That's what hooked me.
Yeah, and he got and probably the best part is like when he just goes fuck the name, and everyone in the room goes quiet, and like that's when you start to go like this is getting a little too much. Yeah.
What am I watching? Augusto, how about you? Favorite moment?
Favorite moment? Probably just capturing the actresses, doing their routine. One of them, I don't recall. I think she wasn't the best dancer, so she was definitely trying to keep up with Marion, who was the star of the film. And so it was just funny, just having to redo it over and over, but they eventually got it. It was just fun. It was just an overall fun experience to work with the entire team.
They were fun actresses. They were very willing, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Marion, especially, she is a diehard comedian. Just goes for it. Is definitely very invested into her comedy. So it's always just a fun experience to work with her and her team.
Excellent. And Jennifer, what's your memorable or favorite moment making your movie or scene?
My favorite part is the credits. And especially
I do like the music, by the way, in the credits.
Oh, that's my friend's band. they're physicists in Spain. But
That's the band's name, Physicists in Spain.
no, but that's it should be. Yeah, so Arnaldo he knew he was in the pipeline to get his green card, but he didn't know when. And during the pandemic, I didn't go anywhere, like, except to see him and like to the grocery store. And then the one day I go to the city and meet my friends at the beach, he was calling me frantically because he had got the phone call that he got his green card, and I'm like not picking up, and I'm like, and so when I finally got the message, I happened to have just the tiniest little point and shoot. And I happened to be like 3 blocks from his lawyer's office in San Francisco. It was just all a coincidence. I'm like, don't move. And I like roll up, he jumps in the car, and I filmed him like when he's ecstatic because he just got his green card.
Yeah, wonderful moment.
Yeah,
Wonderful film. I cried during the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Well, hey, all your films are wonderful. You guys are all wonderful. That's all the time we have. I could speak to you a lot more, especially since we're Bay Area filmmakers. But I want to thank you for being here, for making your movies, doing this Q&A. The audiences that are watching, I'm sure, are happy you did this. Congrats to your films. Enjoy the rest of the festival and the festival run, whatever your futures with these films may bring. And just good luck to you in the future as well. I hope I see you on a movie set in the Bay Area.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Jason.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, see you at the theater. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.